Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's Ag Report. Well, we are still in the snow covered here in Texas. This is our seventh day now of continually being under 32 degrees. Still have snowpack, if you want to call it that, on the ground, which, that is just unheard of for us here in north central Texas to have snow continually on the ground for 5 days plus. All kind of things going on, but agriculturally speaking. So we're doing our best to keep water broken for the frozen water broken for the cattle. That for us personally, that we're actually using a creek. Our ponds are completely frozen over. We have a creek that we are breaking the water in for them to have fresh water. Reason I chose the creek versus the ponds is the creek's a little more shallow, a little less risky for our equipment and stuff. We're taking a front end loader and using a hay fork to poke holes in it. Some folks are using axes and things like that, but that's what we chose to do. A little less risky as far as not falling in the pond, that kind of stuff. So that's why we chose the creek versus the pond. A lot of producers don't have running water to their water troughs, things like that, because we've got producers on day 5 of zero electricity. That means the community water is off because the pumps aren't running. Even if the pumps were running, a lot of them are struggling with frozen pipes. Again, we're just not built here for 7 days continually. We started the morning off at 0 degrees one morning. Our water lines aren't buried deep enough for all of that. Just, a lot of stuff there. Not built for that kind of stuff. We're running into equipment issues because of the prolonged freezing temperatures and the dropping at 0 degrees for many hours. Our diesel fuel is gelling, and that's just something that we never have to deal with here. We're having trouble finding additive to put in the fuel to remedy that because, they don't carry it much here. And now you've got a bunch of producers and folks that are looking for that to try and de-gel that fuel. So that's just kind of adding to the trouble here, to the struggle. We've got friends that it's calving season, and you may say, well, why in the world? Remember, we normally don't have snow and ice and cold temperatures like this in February. So it's calving season for this part of Texas. What does that mean? Well, those calves, they're getting frostbite on their ears, losing ears, stuff like that, just because they're newly born. It's so cold. By the time they get, dried off, they've got frostbite. I've got a friend that has lost 10% of their calf crop this year because of the extreme cold. And, remember, folks, it's not that it is inattention. These folks are doing their best to watch over these things. But because at 0 degrees, 5 degrees, it doesn't take long at all to have that frostbite and hypothermia set in on these young animals and stuff. They can't sit with them 24 hours a day, for 7 days now. They're doing their best. They've also got a family they've got to try and take care of and feed themselves and everything. So they're folks doing all that they can do to try and take care of these animals. I've had people say, well, why don't y'all have shelters to bring these animals in? Well, again, that's not an infrastructure that we have that we have built or invested in because it's not needed. This is a once in a lifetime kind of event like that. So, Y'all on the consumer side, you're probably noticing empty shelves, bread, milk, meats, reminiscent of the pandemic in there. So just want to explain, to that, just remember there is more coming, okay, in the supply. There is more to be had in the future, but there are going to be interruptions, okay? Right now, the interruption is the trucks are not on the road because they can't travel, because again, the trucks aren't built for this kind of cold and ice. So, they don't all have snow chains like they do up north to put on there. And you can't just run out and buy those for every truck because they're not stockpiled anywhere. Those trucks are just like our farm equipment. They've got to have that anti-gel in them. Again, probably something hard to get to in there. So you're not seeing the trucks move around. So what that's doing is that's not replenishing the stores as fast from the warehouse. So there's a little hiccup there. We've had cattle sales for 2 weeks now that have been canceled. So you're not seeing cattle shipped out. There's processors that are not able to be open because lack of electricity. We're all experiencing that all across this state of Texas. So just remember, there's going to be some little hiccups down the road coming because, when you can't get to a sale, that's going to create a gap in the supply. When a processor doesn't have electricity to operate, that's going to create a little bit of a gap in the supply. Dairies are the same way. It takes a lot of money to build a generating system to be self-sufficient at a dairy, a big diesel generator, wiring, all that. Again, we, for the most part, have had a reliable electric grid. So a lot of these dairies haven't invested in a generating system to run their entire system. They may have something small just for very important aspects, maybe that be just the chilling room for the milk tank, that kind of stuff, but not necessarily to run all of the milkers and things like that. So you're going to see a little gap in the supply there for the same reason. But just remember, there are folks just like myself, other families all across this state that are working hard to keep those chickens alive. They're working hard to keep those new calves and the older animals, alive, the dairies to keep milking in there. They're doing their very best in these unprecedented times. They're being ingenious, in the ways that they try to keep their water troughs thawed, or the way they try and, keep their tractors running, that kind of stuff. So, got to give those guys credit for necessity is the mother of invention for some of the things that they're doing. So remember, when you go to that store, try and be patient with those folks. Not their fault that maybe, the supplies are running short, that kind of stuff. Just be patient, be flexible. And remember, there are a lot of small dairies, meat producers, things like that locally that will probably still have some supplies that you might be able to purchase from them. So like we've always talked about here on the Ag Report, try and connect with your local producers. They'll appreciate it. Remember, they don't have an endless supply, but I'm sure that they'd be happy to supply what you need on there, what they've got. Just as you try and digest this snow apocalypse, just look at the kind of the big picture. There's a lot of aspects of it that's going on, from natural gas, the electric issue, being able to get propane, being able to keep diesels running, getting those additives in there. Whole lot of dynamics going here. Certainly have a lot of folks in their homes that are suffering days and days with zero electricity whatsoever. We have been very fortunate here at our place. For the most part, we have been able to keep electricity. It has just been cycling on and off. pretty much like clockwork, so we can kind of tell when we will be able to do things and when we won't. But we're doing the best we can. We're trying to watch out for our neighbors, help them when we can. And I know that a lot of you are doing the same. So anyways, just kind of wanted to, give you an update of kind of where the state of ag is in Ellis County. And truth be told, you can duplicate this all the way down to the coast. I've talked to friends down in the valley that have lost their citrus, lost their vegetables down in there. Talked to friends up in the Panhandle that they are a little more adapt to the cold temperatures, but it's all relative. Even for them, where we started at 0, they started at -15, that kind of stuff, and that's extremely cold for them and created problems for them, even with their infrastructure that is set up for some colder weather. So we're all doing our best. We're all working hard. We're all trying to take care of the animals, feed our families, and have safe and reliable food for you. So y'all take care and do your best to stay warm.